Welcome to the Life in Michigan podcast. Life in Michigan is more than an online magazine. We share the stories, experiences, and vibrant personalities that make the Great Lakes State truly unique. In this podcast, we bring you inspiring, heartwarming, and sometimes unexpected conversations with people who call Michigan home. From the rugged beauty of the Upper Peninsula to the bustling creativity of Kalamazoo, we'll cover the stories and define what it means to live, work, and play in Michigan. Today on Life in Michigan, we are talking to music legend Johnny Williams, educator, community builder, and founder of the Speakeasy, along with the brilliant singer-songwriter Judy Banker. Hey, Johnny, it's so good to see you. How are you?
I'm good, Chuck. Good to talk to you and Brenda.
Yeah, awesome, man. It's so awesome. We've known you for a while, quite a while, actually. But we thought you would be like the perfect person to talk about your life in Michigan, just because you've been in the state for a while and you've had so many interesting things, and you know, the Speakeasy and the schoolhouse up north and just everything. So we thought you would be the perfect person to talk to.
Thank you. Yeah, after 76 years, I got a few stories.
I bet you do. Now remember that this is family friendly.
Yeah.
So
Oh yes, yeah.
So keep it clean, Johnny.
I will. Yeah, that's for a different podcast.
Yeah, different one, completely different. I was trying to remember exactly when I met you, and it was through Madeline, I believe.
Yeah, and I know it was through Madeline, and I'm wondering if it was when I met you guys up at Shorts when you were doing the run up there.
It could.
I think it was. Yeah, I think we had gone up because Brenda and Michael were running the marathon in Traverse City, and Madeline and Jim were with us, and Madeline mentioned that she had a friend, and that lived over in Bel Air, and I'm pretty sure that was it. Yeah.
So that was, and then we started comparing notes and then realized, like everything else, everybody knows everybody.
Yeah. It's a small world.
That's right.
So it's a small world, but I'd hate to have to paint it.
So for folks that don't know you, which is probably everybody listening, maybe just give like a little background of who is Johnny Williams, and where did you grow up, and what brought you to Ann Arbor?
Yeah, well, I'll start right at the beginning.
All right.
So I was born in 1948 at the old Bixby Hospital in Adrian.
Wow.
And, my folks are from the Mansalona, East Jordan area, and after the war, they had a couple of my sisters before my dad went into the Army in World War II. Then after the war in 45, 46, they wanted to move downstate, and they moved to Pontiac for just a little bit. And then my dad got a job at Siena Heights College to be the head groundskeeper and all that stuff. So that's how they ended up in Adrian.
Oh, all right.
So I grew up in Adrian. I went to the Catholic school, the parochial school there. And folks had 11 kids. I was one of them.
Oh my gosh.
I had 6 sisters, but I was the first boy. So I had the sweet spot. I had all these older sisters, but I was the first boy. I was right in the middle. So
all right, awesome.
I tell people I had the best spot because I learned how to dance and all the things that young men should know when they hit puberty. And I remember at one of the dances, one of the first sock hops, I was out there dancing with a girl, and of course the boys were on one side and the girls were on the other. And after one of the songs, I come off and the guys go, "How do you know how to do that?" And I go, "Well, I got all these sisters." "Well, how do you know where to put your hands?" I go, "Oh, you'll find out in a hurry." But anyways, it was great growing up in Adrian. I was, like I said, I went to the parochial school. I was the shoe shine boy at the Fights Barber Shop. I did that for 4 years. That was for a 13, 14-year-old kid, I did that until I graduated from high school. That was a great gig to have.
Nice.
But you actually, you cleaned people's shoes?
Yep, I was a shoe shine boy. I swept the hair there was, like I said, there was 8 chairs. It was right there on Maumee Street. And I think well, I know it's a beautician shop now. Um, but yeah, guys would come in and early on I learned this. The factory guys would come in and I'd go up and say, hey, can I shine your shoes? And I had a booth that they got up and sat in. And the guys who worked in the factory, it was 25 cents for a pair of shoes, and they would always give me at least 50 cents. Sometimes I'd even get $1, which was, big money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the guys who wore suits, and I figure they must have been bankers in that, they're the guys that never tipped me. So I learned early on that whole class thing.
Yeah. Oh man.
So anyways, I graduated from Adrian Catholic Central in '67, and I spent a moment at Adrian College. Uh, I was working I was going full time, taking classes at Adrian College, and I was working third shift at the foundry there, Simplex Paper Company, and partying. So I was doing those 3 things, and one of them had to give way. So what happened was the schooling gave away. So I was
I
quite.
thought you were going to say the partying was going to give way.
No, I wasn't going to give that up. So the dean of men, called me and said, Johnny, you're going to have to pack your horse and get out of here. And which would have been okay, but it was right in the middle of the Vietnam War, and it was just raging.
Yeah.
So, anyways, back then, every young man in Adrian knew the woman who was head of selective service. Her name was Myrtle Culver, and she looked just like her name. I mean, she was a stern woman with what do they call them? Cat eye glasses, and you just didn't mess with her. Well, the local priest there, he tried to get a deferment for me. Well, he had done it for so many other guys before me. She said, no, I'm not going to give any more. So my number was, and I remember this distinctly. The night of the draft, it was just like bingo. They had this like a cage with these balls.
Yeah.
And the numbers would come out and it'd match it with your birth date. And my number was 52. So I knew I was in trouble. And it was funny because I don't even know where we were at, but we were at this, there must have been 30 of us guys, and either guys were whooping and hollering and cheering or they were crying. And so I went home, remember telling my dad, I said, well, this is bullshit, Dad. You know, this war is no good. And he said, yeah, but you got to do. I said, I'm not going to. So that was my journey of I guess, took me all the way through where I am now. But anyways, so I was a draft dodger. I took off for Canada. I went up to British Columbia. I had a sister and brother-in-law, and there was a whole community of California hippies who had moved up in British Columbia in Powell River.
Okay.
And so I went up there, and I stayed there for a little over a year. And, I call my folks once in a while. And my dad said, you got to turn yourself in, and you come back to the States, you're going to get thrown in jail. So anyways, I at that time, I thought, yeah, I don't want to, I want to come back to Michigan. I want to come back home. So I came back and I turned myself in. And so they put me on the bus and took me down to Knoxville. And there was a handful of us guys. And I don't know if you guys remember, there was a TV show called The F Troop.
Yeah.
Darity Wells. Well, they called us F Troop, and they put us in blockade, and we were in there for 8 weeks. And the Marines, who we thought were just these vicious guys, well, they were probably just a couple of years older than us and just goofballs.
Yeah.
But they back then they could slap you around, stuff like that. Well, so for 8 weeks, we went through that. Well, then they said, okay, you guys ready? And I just said, you can put a gun in my hand. I'm not going to shoot anybody. I don't care what. I'm just not going to shoot anybody. And they'd scream and yell at you. And they said, well, Williams, we're going to drop you guys right in the middle of the jungle. We'll see if you're going to shoot anybody. When I'm thinking, I called my dad that night and I said, Dad, I should have stayed a draft dodger because I'm I, I'm not going to do this. And he goes, you
Yeah.
can't. I was thinking about running away, and then I would have really been in trouble. You know, and when you're 18, 19-year-old kid, that's a hell of a
Right.
thing.
Yeah, that is.
Well, to this day, I'm not sure what happened. I just figure my guardian angel looked out for me. Anyways, there was 1,500 guys in a battalion, and they'd lined us up the next day. They called parade rest, and they said, "Okay, 50 of you guys are going to be lucky. The rest of you guys are going to Nam." And so they sent 30 to Germany and 20 to Greece, and I was one of the guys who got sent to Germany. And
Wow.
so I did my time in Heidelberg, Germany, being a clerk typist and having a girlfriend from Switzerland, Ulla Carlson, and I had the best tour of any person I ever known.
Oh
So
my gosh.
tell young people, I know sometimes you're put in a position, but just be true to yourself, and hopefully things will turn out for the best. So that's the first part of my life. That's what
Wow.
started my journey.
Yeah. Wow, that's awesome. Holy
Yeah.
cow.
So I let's see, the night before Christmas, 2 years later, um, they send me back. You know, I'm discharged. I get an honorable discharge. Um, and this is a funny thing. So um, I fly into, they fly us into New York, these guys from Germany who were released. So I'd stay in New York for a couple days, and I guess it was New Jersey. And then Christmas Eve, they flew us into Metro, and I hadn't called anybody or anything. So I don't know how it happened. I guess I just met some family or something. And anyways, they said, "Well, we'll give you a ride. Where do you want to go?" And I said, "Well, I want to go to Ann Arbor." So they took me to Ann Arbor. I guess it wasn't Christmas Eve. It was 2 days before Christmas. And I ended up at Mr. Flood's, which was a famous
Yeah.
bar that I used to go to, drive up to all the time. Back in, when I was in high school, I used to drive up to Ann Arbor to go to the old Ark, and then we'd go to Mr. Flood's, and that was a magical place for all of us. And so, anyways, I ended up at Flood's, and these guys found, I still have my uniform on. These guys are buying me all kinds of drinks, and I got just plowed, and I was blind. And now it's getting late, and some guy he was a uh, postal guy who was there. He worked in Ann Arbor, but he lived in Tecumseh. He said, "Well, where do you need a ride at?" And I said, "Well, my folks live in Adrian." So he drove me all the way to Adrian,
Oh man.
and when I got there, he's honking on the horn. It's snowing, and my dad's looking out the door, and here I am with my duffel bag, drunk as hell, and so so as much as he didn't know what to think of me because he was like a lot of men in his generation. He was a World War II veteran and a hero and all that, did all that stuff. And here's his goofy son, that got to go to Heidelberg, and I'm back in Adrian now. So I have to look for a job, and somebody had told me about there was a place. It's not there anymore, but there was a place called Boysville that was south
Okay.
of Saline, and it was
I remember
by the
that name.
Catholic Church.
Yep.
And so I got a job there working at Boysville. So I thought, well, so I went back to school. I'd already started getting. I had some classes, but I went into criminal justice. And from Boysville, I went to a place called Morris Spear. It was court-appointed youth uh, from Lenawee County, and that was based right there in Adrian. And I worked there for a few years, and I met my first wife, Brenda, there. She ran the women's side. And a few years in, I had a brother, sister-in-law who lived in Phoenix, and we decided to go out and visit him one winter. And anyways, we went out there, and Brenda, who was a go-getter, she's going through the papers and that, and she says, "Hey, they're hiring at this place called the Arizona Boys Ranch, and they want married couples to run these different cottages." And I didn't think anything about it because Brenda's always hustling. And next thing I know, she said, "Hey, we got an interview tomorrow." So we go and do the interview, and they said, "Yeah, we want to hire you guys. In fact, we want you for the because you guys have experience. We want you to run the honors cottage, and but you got to be ready to go in 2 weeks." So I'm going, she goes, "Yes, we're going to do this." So we drive our little red Pinto all the way back to Adrian, load up all her stuff, and we get her cat, and we drive back to Arizona. And all I remember about that trip is, we had this red Pinto with a black interior, and it was hotter than hell, and her cat was screaming to get out
Oh my
for
God.
100 miles. Anyway, so we get there and we ran the head cottage at the Arizona Boys Ranch. So that was a good gig. We did that from 76 to about 79. Anyways, sometime during that time, I said, "Brenda, I don't want to do this anymore." And she goes, "What do you mean?" I said, I I'm in my late 20s, and I was around a lot of guys who were in their late 30s who had been working with court-appointed youth and the delinquents, and they're all just cynical as hell, and I don't want to get like that. Someday some kid's going to come up to me and tell me something, and I'm not going to believe him, and he's going to be telling me the truth, and I just don't want to do that. Well, luckily, at that same time, Arizona and New Mexico were the two states in the union that weren't going to follow the federal law when special ed laws came in.
Oh.
And so the federal government said to both New Mexico and Arizona, if you guys don't do this, we're cutting out all your funds. So New Mexico dug in for a year, but Arizona went the other way, and they hired all these special ed people from New York and Wisconsin, which were the two places, and they started this special ed teaching division. And I was in the first class. There was 270 students and only 10 men, which was really cool. And so I got my special ed degree. And so then Brenda and I are kind of, we're having a rough time with our marriage, and we decided we're going to move back to Michigan, try and keep things together. So in 79, we moved back well, we'd made a decision. I wanted to go back to Michigan, but she said, "I'm not moving back to Adrian." I said, "Well," we decided to move to Ann Arbor. So that's where we moved.
Ah.
And I got a job at High Point Center, which is on Wagner Road. And that's for special ed kids from the county. So I hired in there in 79. And so, which was great. I mean, it was, I did that for 40, well, I say 40 years. I worked with delinquents 8 years, and I worked with special ed kids 32 years. So
Wow.
I always tell people when they say, "Oh, well, how do you get, all these musicians?" I go, "Well, for 40 years, I've been training." So, so that we were back in Ann Arbor, we were in Ann Arbor. We loved Ann Arbor, but our marriage wasn't doing so good, and we finally we separated and went our separate ways. So then, okay, there's a long period there where I'm teaching that and being a single guy, and then all of a, I decided, well, at some point I should settle down, and I met this woman from Manchester, and we got married, and I thought, okay, I'm settling down. Well, unfortunately, that only lasted a few years, and so now I'm a single guy again. This would have been 92, and so I moved. We had a farm in Manchester, a beautiful farm in Manchester. Anyways, I moved back to Ann Arbor in 92, and I think I can tell the story. So I would put the kids on the bus every day, and then every evening I would go to Old Town, and Jay Stielstra and I would talk about our divorces and just drink beer, and so that was our lost weekend together once. And the funny thing about that, after I decided, hey, I got to straighten up here. This is this isn't a good thing. I went back there to Old Town months later, and I said to the people working there, I said, was I okay? Because I was, I was kind of living a drunken life. And they
Yeah.
said, John, you were the nicest drunk we ever had in here.
As I
So,
would imagine.
so I'm sitting in Old Town. Well, my daughter, stepdaughter, had just turned 21, and I said, "Well, at least I'm kind of not drinking right now." And she goes, "Oh, shut up. We're gonna I want to have my first official beer with you at your favorite bar at Old Town." So, and this was unbelievable. So we're sitting in Old Town in the front booth there with the windows, and a guy walks by and he waves to me. I wave to him. He comes in. I go, "Hey, Nelson, how's it going? Johnny, what's going on?" I said, "Well, I just moved back here to Ann Arbor. I'm a single guy again." And I said, "You remember my daughter Lisa?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, Lisa, how you doing?" He goes, "So where are you living?" I said, "Well, I'm living over here on Minor Street, but he goes, "Well, are you going to buy a house?" And I go, "No, I'm not going to buy a." He goes, "Well, I I should back up. This guy I used to teach with, and now he's in real estate."
Oh, okay.
Uh, he says, "Well, I got a house for you." And I go, "Nelson, you're not hearing me. I just got a, I don't have any money." And he goes, "No, no, no." He says, and as we're talking, this guy comes in and he goes, Ted, come here. Do you know Johnny?" And we kind of knew each other. He goes, "Ted, have you sold your house yet?" And he goes, "No, it's going to go on the market this next week." He goes, "This guy's going to buy it from you." He goes, "Oh, good." I said, "Well, listen, you guys, I don't have any money." And Ted said, "Well, this was a Friday." He said, "Well, come on over tomorrow and just check it out." So I drive down Dexter Road. I knew that neighborhood because I used to teach at Abbott School. Uh, so I pull in, like everybody else does. I go, "Oh, this is a nice little old lady's house," and backyard. And then I go downstairs and I'm going, "What the hell is this?" And that was the speakeasy. I just went down and down. And at that time, it was pretty bare. Ted had a blues band and they would practice down there, but it wasn't set up or anything.
Yeah.
So I said, "God, how can I do this?" And so Nelson said, "Well, you were in the Army, right?" And I said, "Yeah." He goes, "Well, you can get a GI loan. Have you used one?" And I said, "No, I never used it." He goes, "Okay, well, you can use your GI loan, but you got to come up with $3,000. I guess it was like $1,000 a point. I'm not sure how that
Uh,
worked. So talked to my brothers and friends and scraped together $3,000. And a week later, I'm at the house on 2923 Dexter Road.
Holy cow.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I could barely make a mortgage but I thought, I'm not going to lose this. I'm going to keep it. So it took me a couple years to get it going.
And this was what year? 90,
92.
92.
92.
Yeah. Or no, 94. I was back in Ann Arbor in 92. I bought it in 94. Um, and I couldn't, we used to have hoedowns in Manchester. So I knew quite a few musicians. But I just couldn't get anybody to play there. In fact, one of the guys, Jim Latini of the Flying Latini Brothers, he was one of the guys who worked at Old Town. And so I was in there one time and I said, "Hey, Jim, you got a band, right?" And he goes, "Yeah, yeah, I'm with my brothers." And I said, "Hey, you ought to come over and play at my place." And he goes, "What's your place?" I go, "Well, it's a nice basement." And I could just see the wheels turning, him thinking, "Yeah, my
Yeah.
dad basement with a picture of Elvis, and why would I want to drag my drums down there?" So I just couldn't get anybody to play over there. So I started having these Halloween parties. And by the third year, I mean, they were so fun, but they got really big and out of hand. And I would just invite bands. I had like 8 bands the last year, and it would just rotate. But there were so many people at the Halloween party that I couldn't even get into my own house. It was crazy. And I'm thinking, I can't do this anymore. Well, as I'm trying to walk in my house, Jim Latini is walking out and he goes, "Johnny," he goes, "Man, have you been down that basement?" And I go, "Yeah, Jim, this is the place I was telling you about." He goes, "Well, you did do a very good job of selling it." So, so anyways, that and when the Folk and A Squared kids, Buhalis and Jim Roll and Joe Sarapero, when all those kids, they came into Ann Arbor about, I think 97, 98. When they started playing at my place, then things kind of snowballed from there.
Wow. And so that was the kind of the genesis of the Speakeasy then, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And hey, Judy, would you like to talk about the first time you were at the Speakeasy or knew about it?
Yeah.
I'd love to hear about it.
Here I am.
Hey,
Hey,
Judy.
Judy.
You guys.
For our listeners, Judy is just like an amazing musician and,
All around
friend.
awesome person. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Judy Banker Band. Yeah.
Yeah, the Judy Baker Band.
Banker.
Well, and I can say that Johnny gave me my start.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Yeah, when I was sing, my first solo show was at the Speakeasy, and that was Johnny just offered that to me out of nowhere. So that got me started, got me hooked on songwriting and performing in that kind of way. But I remember, I'm trying to think of what the first show was.
Probably when you and John were playing with Jay.
Oh, of course, of course. Thank you for the prompt. Yeah, my late husband John and I played with Jay Stielstra in a trio. And Jay played at Johnny's all the time. And so one of our first shows together as a trio, Jay played with lots of other people over the years, for sure. But I remember getting to Johnny's and driving by and seeing this little house, little blue house, and going, oh, what? Okay. And walking in the back, we pull in, park in the driveway, walk in the back door, and there is like a very narrow set of stairs that kind of goes down, and then there's a little platform, and then another very narrow, like almost like a ladder.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is even happening? And so you walk down this ladder. It's not a ladder, they're like ladder stairs, sort of, with stone on either side. And I'm thinking, this is gonna be weird. And then it opens up, and there's a bar and like this huge ceiling, like in stone everywhere. It's sort of like a stucco cave
Yeah.
stage, and you know how it is, and you feel like you have just entered Narnia, like musical Narnia. And yeah, and I could, every single time it felt like that, walking into that place. It just had its own vibe. The sound was so good. I remember Dave Menefee was like, you don't need a PA down here. Yeah, that people need.
Yeah, he'd be mad that people are using a PA.
But playing with Jay down there, anytime, I can tell you, anytime I've played down there, like with Jay or backing anybody else up, backing you up, Johnny, or just being at shows, it always had a feeling of, it's overused, but just so magical, so communal, so warm, and the music sounded so good, and everybody was so happy to be there. So, I mean, that's obviously why we all freaked out when, Johnny had the fire, aside from Johnny's home being gone, which also was an incredible home. It was just so beautifully curated that you had so many loving things all around, and it was beautiful. And, but anyway, yeah, the Speakeasy, it is indescribable. And that's why musicians from all over the country will say the same thing. You feel really lucky to play there.
Yeah.
Or to hear music.
Or to, yeah, like you said, just to be in that place. I remember those stairs going down the first time we went there. I'm like, what in the hell? Yeah. But you captured it beautifully, Judy, because yeah, when you then got into the space of it, it was just like this I don't know, like a cavernous sounds bad, it's like, oh, it's a cave, but it was just this awesome, like, hall under the mountain or something. It was just super cool space. And yeah, you had it all like those festive lights around and all kinds of paraphernalia everywhere. You know, it was like holy cow.
Memorabilia.
Yeah, it was like a
Mhm.
museum plus. You know,
Mhm.
a listening room. But yeah, but
Yeah.
sadly, you know, that damn fire.
Yeah. Yeah. Is there an update on a rebuild? Do you have an update, Judy? John?
Well, we're hoping up and my contractor, my good friend Doug Selby, he's been working with me, and um, the dream is to build over it, and like I told Doug and everybody else, I don't need anything fancy. It could be the most bare thing over it. I want to save the speakeasy, but the only way I can save it is if I can have a house.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mhm.
things were looking, Doug kept saying, between all the fundraisers and trying to eke out as much as I can from the insurance company, they still fall real short of what I should be getting. But Doug
Yeah.
kept being really encouraging me, saying, "Don't hang in there. We're going to do it." So it looks like it's getting close. The problem is, I was just telling Judy, up until 2 months ago, Doug was really positive. Lately, he's saying, "I think we can do it." I said, "Well, you're being more hesitant now, Doug." And he goes, "Well, the problem is with these tariffs.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I
I
wondered
I
about
won't
that.
be able to build it like it was built 100 some years ago, with the wood. I'm going to have to use a lot of because it's over the speakeasy, and there's a mound about a foot and a half above grade,
Mhm.
where the top of the ceiling is. Um, I have to build the house above it, and it has to be on either steel or aluminum um, girders. So uh, we don't know how much any of that's going to cost.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I'm still hopeful, but it's just another thing we got to deal with that. And when they tore the house down and took the sides off and everything, um, the side walls of the speakeasy kind of separated from the front wall about an
Oh.
inch.
Oh.
So the city's telling us that we have to get a architect engineer in there to okay everything, and so that's what we're waiting on is because they're they're not going to let me just rebuild. They have to make sure that everything, which is good,
Yeah, yeah, you got to make sure
Yeah,
the
want to be safe.
foundation is structurally sound. Yep.
and
Yep.
I'm going to have to get another escape route too. uh,
Oh,
so
right. Yeah. Just
Be a
not the.
fire.
yeah, yeah.
It's the ladder.
Yeah. So the city's real adamant about that, and
Probably not a bad thing.
that's not a bad idea either. I'm going to lose some seating, unfortunately, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Um, so we're going to figure that out.
Oh, awesome.
You know what'll happen? People will sit on the fire escape.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
They'll be
Yeah.
tailgating.
Yeah,
That'll-
you'll have to have a bouncer saying, "Come on, we got to keep this aisle clear, please."
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yep, yep.
Yeah. I mean, if it takes an extra year, I mean, I know that sounds like another year, but to make it, like affordable and safe,
If I
I
can
mean,
do it, yeah, you're right, Brenda. If I can do it, I'll just, another year of living up north. Mhm.
Mhm. Yeah.
I mean,
We're hoping that doesn't happen. We're
Yeah,
hoping-
exactly.
Our thought is that with like all of this, that because people have been super generous with
yes,
their own personal labor and with their pocketbooks, but that once it starts to be built and people can see how they can contribute in a concrete way, we think we can push through some of the obstacles and
Yep.
get you in before next winter.
yeah.
that
So
would be fantastic.
Yep.
Perfect.
So that's the deal on the speakeasy. And then do you want me to tell you the history of the schoolhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on the
Okay.
list. It's
Yeah.
on my,
Okay.
I have like a little list over here. So far, you have hit every point. It's like, look at my list over here. Like, okay.
Oh, good. Well, yeah, because I've been telling my story quite a bit lately since the fire. Um, so my folks about must have been, I don't know, back in the 70s. the Green River Schoolhouse up in Antrim County was up for sale. And so that's just a few minutes outside of Bel Air where the Shorts Brewery is, we were talking about. Um, my dad went to school there, and he was the youngest of 13, and all his siblings went to school there. And it was built in 1883. And my grandfather, my dad's dad, he was part of the community that built it.
Wow.
So it's been part of the family quite a while. Well, in the 70s, it was falling in disrepair. In the late 40s, early 50s, when they consolidated schools, then it was no longer used as a school. But the Boy Scouts used it for a while, and they used it for community building and stuff. But then for like 10, 15 years during the 60s, it just sat there. And luckily, the bell was still there. Most of the one-room schoolhouses you'll see, the bells are gone, because back then people used to go around and steal bells. And luckily, because my dad grew up there and I have all these relatives, a couple times when guys would show up with ropes and that, all the relatives there, and they would show up and say, hey, what are you doing? That's that. So I'm real fortunate to still have the schoolhouse bell.
Yeah.
But anyways, it went up for a bid, and my dad bid on it and got the schoolhouse and 40 acres. And he's really excited. My mom's going, well, what are we going to do with this thing? And he said, I don't know, but we got to save it. So he retired from Adrian. He retired from the factory, and I don't know. I guess they never talked. But next, he says, well, Mom, we're going to sell the house in Adrian and move up north. And she goes, what are you talking about? I'm not living in a schoolhouse. And so he said, well, I tell you what, I got a trailer that a guy's going to give me. So we'll pull the trailer on the property, and just give me a couple of years and I'll build you a house up on the hill. And once again, my mom fell for my dad's bullshit. So they moved up north and lived in this little trailer that's behind the schoolhouse. And he would just let my brothers and people just store stuff in there, their motorcycles and everything else. And after a few years, after he kept adding on to this trailer, she said, you're not going to build me that house, are you? And so he came to me probably, I don't know, 15 years later. And he says, hey, you need to buy the schoolhouse from me. And I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, yeah, mom and I need some money. And I go, well, there's 11 of us. Why are you picking on me? He goes, well, you're the school teacher. And I go, Dad, I got an old house in Adrian. I don't need that building. And he just kept pushing it. And I said, well, ask all the other siblings. And if they don't, we'll talk. Well, of course, all my other siblings, they wanted me to buy it. So long story short, I ended up buying it. And now, I'm so happy I did. But so I buy it. And I said, well, Dad, everybody's got, if it's mine, even though you and Mom are still living on the property and that, I'm in charge of the schoolhouse. So people got to get their stuff out of there. And so we cleaned it up and got it out of there. Well, then 20 years ago, my friend Chad and Catherine were getting married, and they wanted to know if they could have their wedding reception at the schoolhouse. And I said, that's fine with me, but you're going to have to ask my dad and Mom, because, they're still living on the property, even though it's my house or my building. So my folks said, yeah, sure. So the funny thing about that, this was 20 years ago, and Shorts Brewery had just opened.
Yeah.
So Chad knew the guys at Shorts, and so they donated a bunch of kegs. And I got my brother lived down the road. I got his canoe, and we filled that full of ice and put the wine in there. And then we had in the little log cabinets in the back, we had a bunch of booze and different whiskey bottles. And so 2 days before the wedding reception, we rented a tent and everything. My dad comes out around the corner, and and he's always got to be the center of attention anyways, but he's in his bib overalls and his hat, and everybody calls him Cappy. And so he's, yeah, Cappy, hi, Cappy. And he's coming out, and he is, hey, boy, which, you know, he's yelling at me and says, come here, I want to talk to you. So I'm thinking, what the hell? You know, so I go over there and I go, what do you want, Dad? And he goes, so how many people are going to be at this wedding? I said, I don't know. Chad said about 100, 120. He goes, so you're going to have 120 people here and all this booze, and you don't think there's not going to be a fist fight? And I go, no, Dad, because you're not invited. And somebody asked me about that. And I said, yeah, well, you know what they used to do when he was a kid, young man, they would have these picnics there at the schoolhouse. And the whole family would come, and they'd come on their wagons and that. And when it started getting dark, families would get on the wagon and they would leave except for the young men. And then that's when they'd start pulling out their hooch and getting drunk. And they'd go out in the yard and they'd have fist fights. And they thought that was a big fun thing to do back then. So that's what he was all worried about. And he did tell somebody, he said, well, I'll say this. He said, the many parties we had here, he said, all these Johnny's rinky-dink friends, all these hippies, he said, I'd much rather see them. They all just giggle. They're not like us when we drink booze. And, well, there's a reason why we giggle, Dad, because we weren't drinking booze like you. But anyway, so that was 20 years ago. And that was so much fun. The following summer was coming up, and we thought, God, we ought to do this again, Chad. And so that's how the Hootenanny started.
Oh, okay. So it was a wedding that turned into just an annual gathering.
Hootenanny, yeah. And what I had decided early on, which I was so glad I did, it was always going to be in August, but it was going to be the full moon for two reasons. One, because I had 40 acres and people were camping so they could see, but also the full moon would change different weekends. So that way I could control the numbers. So people couldn't just, every year just tell more and more people, because I always wanted to keep it right around 100, 120 people.
Yeah. So if it's floating around a little bit, then it's like,
yeah.
It's this one.
And I got the same rule as I do at the Speakeasy: don't be one, don't bring one. And the first couple of years, actually, it was pretty rough for me because I had a lot of redneck cousins up there, and they weren't getting the vibe at all. They were just they were grabbing, they just weren't being cool at all. So the first few years, I had to tell relatives that I grew up with, hey, you're not getting this, you're not invited. So that was a little stress for a while. But I wanted the same thing that I had at the Speakeasy. I just wanted people to feel really comfortable and know they're there to be around good people and for the music.
Yeah.
And so now I don't have to worry about that. I don't even have to say anything to anybody now because everybody gets it. And if somebody gets a little goofy in that, people just kind of remind them.
Yeah. Kind of say, hey, come on over here. Yeah. Awesome.
So how do you get on the invite list for the Hootenanny? I mean, is it?
What happens, you either have to know me, which you guys do, so you're always or if I have friends who will say, hey, I got some friends that would really like to come. And I'll say, well, you know what the deal is? And I've only a couple times, but I've had friends, and I'll say, okay, you can bring somebody, and they just didn't quite get the vibe. And I just say, don't bring them back next year.
Yeah.
Because I just, I had somebody one time say to me, well, don't bring one, don't be one. What is it? What do you mean? How do I know that? And I go, well, bingo. If you have to ask, then you're that guy. Because everybody knows what a jerk is.
Yeah, if you have to ask, exactly.
Yeah. So it just kind of, it takes care of itself. But so that's how, like my friend Robin, you guys know Robin and Bill,
for
they
sure.
want to bring somebody. And I said, I trust you guys' taste. And if it doesn't work out, those people won't be able to come the following year. So, that's kind of how it works. And just, it's people that want to be there for the music and the food and just to get along.
Yeah. Just for the community,
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's every August full moon, and we just have a good time.
All right.
It's funny, when I first started out, I'd say at least 70-80% of the people were campers, and I had tents all over. Well, now I got just a few tents and a lot of big RVs.
That happens. Yeah. You get older and you're like, sleeping on the
Yeah,
ground.
no,
I
I'm
don't know
not
about
sleeping on the
that.
ground. I'm not
I
doing
have
it.
to tell you about 12, 15 years ago, um, I had a big, beautiful chimney that was on the schoolhouse. And I could see it was kind of rocking. And I'm thinking, boy, that doesn't look right. And I got up there and I noticed all around the chimney, the roof and the shingles were all getting pulpy. And I'm going, oh, geez, this is bad. So I got up there with some friends and brothers and that. We took the chimney apart and got it down, which was really a shame because it was a beautiful chimney. But once we got there, realized that the whole roof was bad. It was going to cave in, and I'm freaking out.
Yeah.
And then once again, Judy Banker steps up and she said, "Well, we can save this." And I go, "Judy, this is going to cost. This is a big roof." Well, anyways, Judy told me to shut up and she started this GoFundMe for me. So the Saving the Speakeasy is the second major thing that Judy and my friends have done for me. I mean, I feel so fortunate. So we saved the roof. In fact, I don't know if yeah, you've seen
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
It's
that's
Yeah.
what that whole
beautiful.
thing's
Yeah.
about.
And
Yeah,
I
it's
think that's when that didn't you release a CD that was for the schoolhouse as part of that?
Yeah, it's called Gotcha Covered, which
Yep.
was kind of a double entendre about the roof and all these songs I've been writing for the last 50 years. All my musician friends covered them. So, yeah, so that was kind of my thank you to people.
Yeah, that was
wow,
awesome. Yeah.
it was. You wrote about it. I think you did a review of it, didn't you, Chuck?
I did actually. Yep. I
Yeah.
remember that. Yeah, because it was fun. It was yeah, it was good. And we'd been up there to visit you and
Yeah,
go to shorts and stuff. And so yeah, it was like, oh
Yeah.
man, this is awesome.
And we actually went to when they had the North Country Opera.
yes,
We did
Oh
that.
yes. Yeah, that was
Yeah, we
super
were there
fun.
with Robin and Bill at the North Country Opera, which was like amazing, right? And
wasn't that? And Charlie Steen filmed that, and so I've got a video of that.
Oh really?
And Barb Schmidt said that I could use that any way I wanted to. So what I'm hoping this spring is just to invite neighbors who didn't come to or even did come to the North Country Opera to see the video.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome.
So, but yeah, that was really cool. I mean, when Jay first asked me about doing it at the schoolhouse, I said, "Really?" And I mean, I was so honored, and so that was kind of where they started there, and then they went to Sheboygan and Ludington and that whole area up north, and um, but it was really cool to kick it off. But that was kind of, they said it was a dress rehearsal, but to me it was more than that because they had it down pat.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really good.
You
and
know,
we'll
and
put links in our show notes to the North Country Opera for people listening that aren't really don't know what that is. It's a play that who wrote that,
Jay Stielstra, right?
Jay
right?
Stielstra, yes, yep,
He just recently passed, didn't he?
yes, he did. He wrote that 40 years ago.
Okay.
Hang on just a second, Judy. Come on and talk about North Country Opera.
Poor Judy.
I'm lurking in the other room. Yeah. So what were you guys talking about? North Country Opera?
Yeah, well, we were
Yeah.
talking, the first, they went to the
Yeah,
one
you guys were at the one
Yeah.
at the schoolhouse. That's
Yep,
right. That
that's
was
right.
But I just start
opening
giving
night.
the history. Why don't you?
Oh, right. Yeah, Jay did write that about we celebrated the 40th anniversary of it. That tour was the celebration of the 40th anniversary. So if that was 2022, you guys do the math.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Yeah, but Jay wrote that then, and it had been performed quite a bit over the years, but it had been a while since it had been revived. And Dan McCarthy, you guys know Dan McCarthy? No, okay.
I
He's
don't
got
think so.
okay, he's a producer of the play, and he has a house concerts up north
On
on
Manistee.
the Manistee every year, and he's had Jay. He's a big fan of Jay's. And one year after Jay performed up there, he pulls me aside and no, Jay no, he hadn't passed yet. But he pulled me aside and he goes, Judy, I have an idea. We ought to revive North Country Opera. I'm like in my brain going, oh, yeah, no, tour up north, do all this stuff. But I'm thinking, be quiet, Dan. I don't want to have anything to do with this. It sounds like a mess. But Barbara Schmidt, who can organize anything. She's unbelievable. She kind of liked the idea, and then Ron Miller got on board, who's a director. He had directed the play before. And then Dan took me out to lunch to see if I'm really going to get on board with this thing. And then lo and behold, this all kind of came together. And so now we've got the film of it from the performance at the Arc. We made a film, and that was shown at the Michigan a couple of years ago, and it's done a tour up north. It's going to be at Beaver Island Music Festival this summer, and we're doing it at State Theater in 2 weeks on the 24th. And that's going to be a benefit for Pilar's Foundation in Ann Arbor.
Nice.
Sylvia.
You guys know
Awesome.
about Pilar's?
I know of Pilar. She's over on Liberty, right?
That's right. Yeah, she's got Pilar's tamales. But the foundation was founded over 24 years. Sylvia Rogers formed it, and they've been doing humanitarian work through that foundation. Primarily, they raise money for groups that vulnerable communities, and both locally and around the world, but sort of quietly. So we decided, why don't we do something for them?
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Right. So all the proceeds are going to go to support them. So they're bringing tamales.
Oh man, those tamales are fantastic too.
Yeah. So I'm really excited about that. But it's sort of something that the play is kind of beloved because it's so pure Michigan.
Yeah.
It's nice that it's got legs.
Yeah, that is awesome. That is fantastic.
So we're almost to the end of our time here. Can you believe how fast that hour went?
Whenever I'm talking about myself, it just flies.
Well, we've got a couple of oh, go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead, Chuck. You finished up.
I was just gonna say we got a couple of rapid fire questions, and we can ask both of you. So is it pop or is it soda?
Soda.
How about you,
Oh,
Johnny?
soda, yes.
Yes, soda or pop? Soda. Oh, wow. All right. And
we're all about pop here.
yeah, pop. Maybe that's a Detroit thing. I don't know.
I'm from Wisconsin originally, so that's way far away. We call it soda.
And as far as pasties, do you like them with ketchup or gravy?
If I have to have them, which I don't really want to, I'll have them with gravy.
But ketchup and gravy.
Oh, awesome. If I have to have them.
Too, right?
Yeah, I kind of like them. I don't know. I mean,
a lot, right? I think we're in the minority. I didn't know you didn't like them either. Yeah, but I think most people love them.
Yeah. Maybe it's because you guys like soda. I mean, maybe it might be the connection. We're gonna have to start collecting data.
Here we go. Yeah, exactly. What do you call it?
Yeah. So, so is there one thing you wish more people knew about Michigan?
I wish they knew less about it.
Keep it all to ourselves.
I wish more people would know how great, more Michiganders would know how great the UP is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know how many people over the years I've talked about the UP, and they go, "Oh, I've never been up there."
I know.
Yeah, that's a shock.
There is a bridge now.
There's been a bridge for quite a while. Yeah, I'm always shocked at that.
And if they have been up there, they haven't been to the west side, which is something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they've maybe been to like Munising.
Yeah.
Right.
Or to Quamanon, which are, it's fabulous there.
but
Or
yeah.
or it's like, oh, we've been to Mackinac Island. Like, no, you
Yeah,
barely.
that's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah.
yeah. So that for me, that's the main thing. I'm just so amazed that so many um what do they call us, trolls, don't know about the UP.
That's
Mhm.
right. That's right.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
very last question, and it's for both of you. You guys can you can even kind of like combine it if you want. So this is what's your perfect Michigan day? Where would you go? What would you do? And what beverage would you finish it off with?
Well, for
You go.
me, it would be in the yard of the a schoolhouse with a hootenanny going on, and everybody barbecuing and the good smells and people on the second stage singing their songs. And then as the day goes on, we move into the schoolhouse and hear the bands in there. And then towards the end, I get in a time capsule and show up at the speakeasy, and the bands are playing in the speakeasy.
Awesome.
And as long as we're doing time capsule stuff, I would move all of that within spitting distance of the shores of Lake Michigan. Go and watch the sunset or whatever,
Oh, and the drink I would be drinking the whole time would be Bloody Marys.
Oh,
Oh,
excellent. Excellent.
yeah, I like a good Bloody. As I get older, though, Bloody Marys are not necessarily my friend. I can't. The spice is not. I can maybe have one, and that's it. I'm like,
I'll tell you a funny story. So I was worried about when Judy and the women told me that I had to come down for the show,
the women.
The Streamathon.
women.
my sisters, my badass women. And I said, no, you got to, if you don't come down, we're not going to have it. Okay, I'm coming down. And you have to be there the whole time. I go from 2 o'clock to 8 o'clock. You're kidding me. Yeah, and then you have to sing. And I go, I haven't picked up my guitar in a year. Well, you have to sing, and okay, when do I go on? You're going on at the end. I go, wait a minute. You want me to go at Old Town, sit there for 6 hours, drinking Bloody Marys, and then get up and sing in front of people? I said that doesn't compute for me. And so, anyways, I did drink Bloody Marys all day, but I didn't have them put any alcohol in after the first one.
There you
So
go.
I over, and I wanted to enjoy everybody anyway. So
Right.
I just couldn't imagine sitting in Old Town for 6 hours drinking Bloody Marys.
Yeah.
Oh,
And
man.
you guys were so great about that event. I mean, you're so great about all the events, but like that you were there
That was
and
great.
taking
Of
pics. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
great article you wrote about it. That was
really
amazing.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. It was
It
super
was
fun.
fun.
And
It
Old
was fun.
Town's, yeah, we love Old Town, so it was cool to be. And then, we love you guys, and love the whole thing. So it was
staff
fun
is
to be
so
part of it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And of course, we'll have links of all of the stuff in our show notes. And yeah,
Yeah.
so
Well, thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Judy, for so
Yeah.
much for being on Life in Michigan. We really
Well, we
appreciate
really
it.
appreciate it. Thank you so much. And you guys, our community is so wonderful. You guys are doing such a great job of getting people to know. Those two fellas last week, was it Jeff and John?
Oh yeah,
Uh,
Jeff and John. Yeah, the record store guys.
That was really cool. I didn't know anything about them, and that was really great. So you guys are really doing a good job.
Oh, thanks.
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. They were fun.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was, they were super fun. I was a little disappointed that like the audio broke up a little bit,
Mm.
because of their connection, and they were, the audio wasn't fantastic, but
But they were coming in
that's
live from the UP.
UP.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like
Yeah.
they were coming in live for the UP. But that's the pros and cons of having, our audio on Zoom and not in a studio, right?
Right.
The
You
pro
never-
is people scheduling is easy. People can be in their home and we can get them on. But the con is sometimes we can't control the audio piece.
Yeah.
So, it
But it was still good. It was all good.
was good. It
It
was
sure
fun.
was. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys again, and we'll hopefully see you soon.
Yes.
Bye, you guys.
Bye, you guys.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Be sure to hit subscribe on your favorite podcast service to catch every episode of Life in Michigan. Help us spread the word by rating the show, sharing it with your friends, your neighbors, your family, your mail carrier. Share it with everybody, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Stay connected by following us on our website and social media. This is a Life in Michigan production. Until next time, take care and have a fantabulous day in Michigan.